In honor of creating my best life ever, a life where I have financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, a life where my health is vibrant, my relationships are passionate and intimate, and my friendships are life-giving, I had to let go of some poor habits. So today I want to share with you 5 habits that I had to give up to align my life with God consciousness. And I have to start off this video being 100% transparent and honest with you. Before clicking play and recording this video, I YouTubed the exact same title that I wanted to name this. 5 habits that I had to give up to align with God. And all of the videos that popped up on my feed were overly religious. Not that I have a problem with that whatsoever. I just need you to know, so I'm not wasting your time, that I am not speaking to a dogmatic God here. Honestly, I could have named this video 5 habits that I had to drop to align myself with love, or to align myself with the universe, to align myself with source. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. With all of that being said, if you let go of these 5 habits that I had to let go of, I feel 100% confident that your life is going to elevate in the most epic way imaginable. And it will even be far cooler than you can even imagine right now. Just imagine that. So, with that being said, the first habit that I had to let go of is self-judgment. I don't know about you, but inherently, I feel like I've always been a bit of an achiever. I've always wanted to do good. I've always wanted to be good. I've always wanted to be a man of my word and to go above and beyond, to serve and to help people. It's just in my nature, for better or for worse. And oftentimes that came with a negative cost, where if I didn't show up in the way that I expected, if I didn't meet my expectations, I would be my biggest critic. And although that would sometimes serve me and motivate me to do better, to strive for further, more times than not, it would put me in this very depressive, gosh, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy headspace. And then it would put me on this trajectory of just kind of buying into this narrative that everyone's feeding us, that I wasn't good enough and I needed something outside of me to become the person I wanted to be and to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, which is untrue. It's always within, right? Same thing is true for you. What you are seeking is inside of you. It's not you need to grab it, it's you need to let it out. You need to release it rather than seek it. So, instead of judging myself, the motto that I began to really commit myself to, and I encourage you to try this on, at least test it out and experiment. My motto is to have high expectations for myself, but to combine that with 0 self-judgment. So yes, I still expect amazing things. I still expect myself to show up and to be a man of my word. But if I don't fulfill that expectation, I will not tolerate beating myself up. And instead, I am just going to relentlessly love myself. So habit number 1 that I had to give up to align myself with God consciousness is self-judgment. Habit number 2 that I had to let go of is procrastination. Something that I would tolerate for such a long time, right? Like if I'm being honest with myself, I always knew what I needed to do. I always knew there were certain foods that I should stop eating and that I should start eating. I always knew there were certain conversations that I should have more of and certain conversations I should have less of. I always knew like what that next step was. But perhaps because I didn't know what the step in like 10 steps was going to look like, I could only see this, I couldn't see that. Perhaps that was the reason why I procrastinated. Regardless, I would just not do what I knew I needed to do, and it would slow down my progress. And so what I do now, and I think I picked this up from, this is like a classic Tony Robbins teaching. He would say something along the lines of, whenever you're sitting down and planning your goals and creating your vision for the future, do not get out of the chair. Do not switch to a different task until you have done something to move the needle in the right direction. So every time I'm mapping out my week, every time I'm mapping out my day, I make sure I do something that will move me in the right direction before transitioning to a different task. So what I had to drop was procrastination. The third habit that I had to completely get rid of in order to align my life with God consciousness is the habit of consuming junk, both with nutrition, hydration, and also content and like books or TV shows. I noticed, I'm sure you're aware of this, there are certain foods that you eat that make you feel a little bit better, and there are foods that you eat that make you feel a little worse. Same thing with liquids, same thing with videos, right? You can watch certain videos that like empower you and remind you of how strong and capable and brilliant and beautiful you are. And then there's also videos that kind of like remind you, the world sucks. The future is bleak. You should stay at home because everyone is out there to get you, right? So once you become aware of what foods make you feel good, and I'm not into any dogmatic type of nutrition. I think everybody needs to learn how to eat according to their unique biological needs. But once you've identified, okay, this food makes me feel bad, stop fucking eating it. Stop eating it. Your energy is the most prized thing that you have. It's the most valuable thing that you have. And I didn't realize this until recently, that if I wanted to create my best life, I had to be extra diligent and intentional with what I was consuming. That doesn't mean that I'm not watching TV shows or podcasts that make me laugh and they're a bit more mindless than others. But it does mean even those things still empower me. They still like bring joy and positive energy into my life. So if you want to create your best life, it's probably a good idea to be a bit more simply reflect on like, okay, what am I eating? What am I drinking? What content am I consuming? And how does it make me feel? And just simply eliminate the things that are not serving you. The fourth habit that I had to let go of is the habit of seeking external approval and validation. This one runs so deep in my body. Every cell in my body just yearns for your approval. And sometimes it would put me in situations that I just shouldn't have been in. You see, you become unstoppable. You become wildly powerful the moment you drop needing other people's approval. And instead of pursuing things, saying things, doing things in order to get a specific response, instead of doing that, and you showed up the way you wanted to show up, you said the things that you wanted to say, because it brought joy to you, because it lights you up. Once you start living like that, you will be rewarded. You will be supported. You will be propelled, and you'll just like ignite this very accelerated way of living. It's a way of living that I'm kind of sad to say this. This is a way of living that a very small percentage of the population ever get to even taste. They don't even get to taste it because it's so just not familiar. Nobody's telling us, hey, stop giving a fuck what other people are saying. Well, in fact, a lot of people do say that, but even still, you have to go deeper than that because this need, it's so deep in all of us, right? It's like the caveman days, because if you rub somebody the wrong way, they're gonna kill you, or you're pushed away from society. You won't be able to eat, blah, 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 blah. We've heard this endless times, right? So it runs really deep. So it's not as simple as saying, okay, I don't give a fuck what other people think. It's more of an endless practice of, am I being radically honest with myself? Am I being fearless? Or am I allowing other people's energy to influence how I show up? So in order for me to create the life that I wanted to live, I had to drop the habit of needing external approval and external validation. The fifth habit that I had to let go of is the habit of comparing myself to others. This is easiest to transcend by simply not getting on social media as much. But again, it goes even beyond that. Everyone here is on their own journey. They're on their own journey. And regardless of where they're at, whether they're making a bunch of money or they're not, and they're sleeping on the side of the road, or whatever it is, right? Their health is incredible, their aesthetics are amazing, or not. Doesn't matter. All of our journeys are going to be wildly different. And there's no inferior or superior. All that matters is whether or not we are living an honest, purpose-driven life. That's all that matters. So instead of me comparing myself to other people to dictate, okay, I am doing good, or man, I need to work a little bit harder because I'm not doing so well. Instead of like living in that really constricted, restricted way of being, what I started to compare myself to is, okay, I'm connected to God's guidance. Like I'm always getting this intuitive hits to do this, don't do that. And so what I would compare myself to is, am I following that guidance or am I shying away from it? And that's the only thing that I compare myself to. I don't care what other people are doing or saying or any of that. Sure, I let other people's stories inspire me and motivate me, and I learn from others, but I'm not going to dictate my success or my worth or my level of fulfillment to what other people are doing. So I had to completely drop the habit of comparing myself to others and instead just comparing myself to whether or not I'm living an honest, purposeful, driven life. And by simply dropping all of these 5 habits, life started to flow for me. Life started to be more enjoyable, more prosperous, more abundant, more vibrant, more connected. And I wish this same thing for every one of you watching this. Many of you who started this are probably not here anymore, but if you did make it this far, please know that you are capable of amazing things. Don't ever quit, because your life can go from 0 to 100, from struggling to just thriving very quickly. Simply believe in that. You can do this. I love you unconditionally. Thank you for tuning into this video. And if it supported you, please do me a huge favor and share this with a friend. Share it online. It would mean the world to me.